stories of the 60s and 70s, where we explore interesting stories from that time that are intriguing, rabbit holes, things that just make you want to type into your search engine on YouTube and are just interesting in general. And so today we are looking into the story of Miss Pamela Des Barres, the iconic queen of the groupies from the 60s and 70s. Hey, if you're new here, my name is Ashley, and I'm a lover of 60s and 70s fashion, film, specifically the horror films, TV, music, and everything in between, just not the value. So if that is something you're into, definitely stick around and hit subscribe. So let's talk about Miss Pamela, the queen of the groupies. So what we do on this series is we dive deep into the rabbit hole we're discussing. I am truly fascinated by Miss Pamela, the life she lived, and the classic quote that made me love her. And that quote is, "Any good groupie loves the music so much it's a part of the bloodstream." Does that sound a little bit familiar? She was one of the inspirations for Almost Famous's Penny Lane, which is also one of my favorite movies. Now, how we're going to do this is today we're going to talk about first the love of music Pamela had and her first experiences with fandom. And then we're going to talk about the 60s music scene she was immersed in. And lastly, her legacy, she still continues to grow to this day. So let's get into it. The beginning of an icon. Pamela Ann Miller was born into a lower middle class family and grew up in the San Fernando Valley. Her nickname later would become Miss Pamela when her rise to fame in the LA rock scene began. During her early teens, she was a fan of Elvis, the Rolling Stones, and the Beatles, of course, just like any other girl her age. She often called music her salvation. At 14, she proclaimed herself boy crazy and was an obsessed schoolgirl with the Beatles. Just like most her age, but at 14, something shifted. She became obsessed with rock music. She said of her Beatles fandom, though, it triggered her intense devotion to rock stars. Her favorite Beatle? Paul, of course. Now, she did attend high school in San Fernando Valley and had mostly a normal life until rock and roll called her name and the LA rock scene. She went from an average high school girl who loved music and fantasized about her favorite musicians to being in their world on the Sunset Strip. But how did this all happen? Well, it just took a friend and some connections. Her friend in high school introduced her to musical acts and eventually led to being introduced to Frank Zappa, but more on that later. Now, this friend of hers in high school was a classmate and introduced Pamela to Captain Beefheart, who was in a band called the Magic Band, and friends with Frank Zappa, who had produced the band's album. Now, Beefheart eventually introduced Pamela to members of the Rolling Stone. She had loved the Stones since her early teens and fantasized about their lead singer, Mick Jagger. Now, this led to her introduction into the Sunset music scene. In 1966, Pamela graduated and moved directly and right to the Sunset Strip and indulged in the scene there. She hung out at places like Whiskey A Go-Go and the London Fog. One of the bands she met in this time was The Doors in 1967. She had an intimate relationship with frontman himself, Jim Morrison. Pamela was said about her time with Morrison as he was a sweet soul, but tortured, alternating between a gentle poet and a mean, bad drunk. They shared intimate moments, and she was close with the Laurel Canyon scene. Oh, to be a part of that scene would be so cool. Also involved in that scene was Led Zeppelin. And Miss Pamela, she went right for the lead guitarist, Mr. Jimmy Page. Pamela described meeting Page in 1969 at the Whiskey A Go-Go, describing him in her memoir as wearing a pink velvet suit. Oh, so good. She had a tumultuous, passionate relationship with him. Not only did she have a relationship with Paige, but she also helped the band with finding vintage clothes and helped style them. That is just so cool and just makes so much sense because she just had impeccable style herself. Now, was any Led Zeppelin song written about Miss Pamela, you ask? Well, Going to California just might be. The lyrics are about a girl with love in her eyes and flowers in her hair on Sunset Strip are directly linked to the groupie scene. Maybe, but most think this is about another groupie in the scene, Lori Maddox, who also had a relationship with Jimmy Page. Now, you have to think, why was Miss Pamela so special in the eyes of these rock stars? How did she get backstage? Number one, she had connections, but also in a world full of girls in the music scene who were fans as well, she was a fan of the music, not just about getting that lead singer for a one night stand. Her biggest drive was the music, but she was also known for her unique fashion, wearing vintage clothes in the 60s from the 30s and 40s and other decades. And also, she wore a lot of homemade clothes. Her clothes are something people still use as inspo today for their looks. I know I do. And she recently inspired a collection with the brand Hippie Shake. Now, that's how she became a part of the scene and why she was let backstage and a part of this rock star world. Now, she loved the music and also the artists, but she loved being around creative people and she didn't want one night stands. And that wasn't what she was about. She wanted a connection. It was that. And her creative mind and love of rock and roll that made her different. From 1967 to 1968, Pamela was emerged in the Hollywood rock scene, befriended and dated members of the Byrds, the Doors, and Buffalo Springfield. Oh, such good bands, all of them. In 1968, through her connection, she began working as a nanny for Frank Zappa. And then in 1969, she became more than just a groupie, even though she was so much more already. She formed the GTOs, Girls Together Outrageously, an all-girl performance troupe produced by Frank Zappa. They released their cult album, Permanent Damage. And then in the early 70s, Miss Pamela began a relationship with the legend himself, Keith Moon of The Who. Pamela fondly recalls this as unreal times with a long-lost beau. While not a long-term romance, she described him as one of her guys of all time. She also said on Moon that he had a dark side, but was also incredibly fun. She also described him as a wild flame with whom she loved to play dress up and share quality time while navigating the chaotic rock scene of Los Angeles. She really just tried to take care of him and just had a nurturing nature to her, especially to Moon, who she also referred to as one of her guys of the time. One of her most memorable moments with him is being at a recording session with him and John Lennon. Her little Beatle inner fangirl must have screamed. In the 70s, she was still involved with the rock scene, having relationships with Graham Parsons and Chris Hillman. But in 1978, the queen of groupies did something unthinkable. She got married to Michael Des Barres. Now, who is this man? Well, Michael is an English actor and rock musician, best known for playing the recurring villain, Murdoch, on the original MacGyver. As for music, he founded the glam rock band Silverhead in the 70s and later replaced Robert Palmer in the Power Station. So she did eventually marry a rock star. In 1987, she published her definitive memoir, I'm with the Band, a book that I still have yet to read because I've only read parts online and I need to just order it on Amazon. I want to read it so bad. It's been on my list forever. I just finished Share Part 1. I feel like it would be the perfect book next, so I need to get on that. Now, the legacy of Miss Pamela. She's a legend, the queen of groupies, the Penny Lane in my eyes. She continues to write, give legendary rock tours in LA, and inspire the next generation of girls. She was so much more than a groupie, really. A fashion icon, wearing vintage clothes before it was cool, connecting with rock stars for having a pure love of the music, and being an artist herself. I wanted to insert a clip right here of Miss Pamela herself describing what the word groupie truly means to her.
It really just means love of music and wanting to get near it. It's just a love word. It's just a word for love, and mainly love of music. But of course, it's gone on to mean love of many other things. You can be a groupie for anything. You can be a groupie for Marvel Comics or groups.
She will forever be an icon in my eyes. And it was so fun to do a video on someone that I adore so much. Now, if you love 60s and 70s content, subscribe. If you loved the video, share and like. And until next time, I'll see ya.